Hi, everyone. Thank you again for joining us on another episode of BAEP Talks with. This is a 30-minute discussion with a person of interest who has experience with living with, managing, and or supporting others with a chronic menstrual health disorder. My name is Melinda Belle. I am the co-founder and public health and advocacy manager of the Barbados Association of Endometriosis and PCOS, and I am your host today. Today, I have the pleasure of being joined by Melinda Belle, an author, teacher, and financial consultant who, from an early age, had a particular interest in money. Businesses are often birthed out of the business owner's personal experience, and it is with her mistakes, knowledge, and experiences, she desires to see others make sound decisions with their money. Melinda sees her role as that of an architect and is committed to shaping of financial landscapes of men, women, boys and girls, businesses and nations, teaching families and individuals to manage their money and to create wealth. Melinda is the founder and managing director of Astrape Finance, Inc. in Barbados, with a mission to be the leading financial education company providing resources on personal and business financial management in the Caribbean. Welcome, Melinda. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Julia. Thanks so much for having me.
So I know you gave us a snapshot as to, how your business was birthed, but do you want to walk us through some more detail as to why you specifically decided to have this career in financial/money management?
Sure thing. This wasn't my first choice.
There was a journey.
There is a journey, definitely. Yeah. If I could go back to primary school, there was a particular topic in math that I wasn't really strong in, and that was subtraction. And I had a couple of challenges with that, but I overcame that. But I was very fascinated with the ideas of computer science and technology at that time, because I think it was around 2001. I decided to leave Harrison College in fifth form, and then I transitioned to BCC from 1999, and I would have done an associate degree in computer studies, but it had some form of business management, accounting, and so on in there. But my heart was still set on computer science regardless, because I was really fascinated with the 3D animation and all of the sort. So I decided that I would do a double major in computer science and management. However, my first job, I landed at a law firm where I was the accounts assistant there. And that's when I understood that I had a love for finance and numbers and everything. And the reason why I didn't want to pursue it was because of my past challenge. But what cemented it for me that it was my purpose was when I transitioned from the law firm to an offshore bank, where I would have seen firsthand how the financial crisis would have affected many in 2008. And that's when I understood that that would be my niche in teaching people, because unfortunately, some people would not have had the education necessarily to,
manage themselves through that crisis.
Right, exactly. So that's when I decided that personal finance was for me. But then also, I wasn't always very good with money, if I could be honest. And I always say, well, it was in my bio that businesses are birthed out of business owner's personal experience. Because when you're young and you have your whole life ahead of you and you figure life is just for the living. But then I felt kind of empty because the money was rolling out unnecessarily, and I wanted to have a plan for my life. And that's when I started to really zero in on my personal finances and budget, which wasn't my favorite word at the time, and really get myself in position to move ahead. So that's how all of this came to be. Again, it wasn't my first choice, but I figured out that this was my calling.
Thank you for sharing that. So your book, My Money and Me, is a resource for persons who want to change their view and manage their money. So what exactly is money management, and what are the components within money management?
Sure. I like to call it financial leadership. And that's a term that I came up with. Financial leadership is giving your money purpose and direction. So let's say you're the CEO of a company and you have a vision for your company, and then there are different departments that you lead. There's accounting, there's management, and all the different HR, all the different departments you have within your organization. And what you do is that you give them all the tasks that they're supposed to do. And once everybody does the tasks that they're required to do, the company should end up being in a profitable position. So we are the CEOs of our money. We don't let our money tell us what to do. We tell our money what to do. So with financial leadership, when you're giving your money purpose, what you're doing is that you're determining what you want your money to do. And again, we all have grand visions for our lives. We shouldn't minimalize it, but there are steps that you need to take in order to make it an actuality. So to lessen the pressure that we sometimes put on ourselves, we can break it down into bite-sized pieces. So there are 3 different types of goals. They're short-term, which occur within a year or less. They're intermediate-term, which occur within 2 to 5 years. And they're long-term, which occur within 6+ years, 6 years and over. So you could decide what it is that you would like to accomplish within that time period. Now, what makes budgeting easier is that you know where it is you're going. And before, like I mentioned, in my younger years, I didn't have any idea where I was going. I didn't have a vision for my life, so I did whatever I wanted. However, once I understood where it was that I wanted to position myself financially, then I decided that I would direct my money where it is that I want to go. So let's say, for example, you're looking to study again. That's your goal. You make sure that you set aside money towards actually taking that course. You're looking to build a home. You decide, okay, you know what? I'm going to set aside money for that deposit. And that's exactly how it should go. Yeah.
Okay. So is that related to financial esteem? And then if that's the case, is there an intersection between financial esteem and then your self-esteem?
Definitely. Self-esteem is basically how you value yourself, how I value myself. And financial self-esteem is essentially how you see yourself in light of your financial position. Okay. For me, I tend to have to make sure I strike a balance in my life and in my thinking, because if I look at what's not going right, I'm not going to function. I'm not going to be able to think straight. So I have to purposely look at what's going right. Okay. So with developing a healthy financial self-esteem is that you're not equating your value to what you have on the bank account. Okay. Your value is depicted outside of that. And sometimes we can be a bit hard on ourselves because we're at where we're at. We compare ourselves unfairly to other people because we figured they would have accomplished something faster than we did. But then we forget that there's some things that we would have accomplished that they wouldn't have accomplished. So it's really important to put your financial blinkers on and really focus on your path and on where you're going. Now, with respect to financials, having a healthy financial esteem as it relates to your money, you want to make sure that you don't see yourself as a pushover, because if people see you as someone who's always willing to give in to them, always willing to bail them out, they're going to treat you like a pushover, therefore putting you in a worse financial position that you don't need to be in. So that's one way in which you can combat that. And then another way that you can combat that is understanding that your dreams matter, your goals matter. And if they don't matter, you're not going to put your money towards achieving what it is that you want to accomplish. So you gotta ensure, again, it all comes back to valuing yourself outside of money. And our self-esteem really, really affects the way we manage our money. And then the final thing would be, you just couldn't be bothered to make yourself better. You couldn't be bothered to put yourself out of a financial position, so you just continue habits that would put you deeper in a hole. So it's really, really important to check your self-esteem. And then the reason why we may develop this low self-esteem, it could be something somebody said back at school. It could have been the environment that you would have grown up in, which is why I always, when I meet with clients, I want to find out what it was like growing up, because what you would have experienced would have indeed shaped the way you view yourself and then the way you view money.
Okay. So it takes a lot of introspection. That's what I'm hearing. So then when you meet with clients, do you want to walk us through that process of educating persons about money management?
Oh, certainly. When I'm teaching people about money management, and if you want to learn more and to become more financially literate, what you need to do is to know your family history, and you need to know your numbers. Now, when I say know your family history, I ask, what was it again? What was it like growing up? What examples did you see financially? Was your mother always there? Was your father always there? Are your parents divorced? Are your parents still together? Did your grandparents raise you? Why is it that your grandparents had to end up raising you, and so on? So, or is it that you had to raise your siblings on your own? So there are different dynamics in the household that would have informed our mentality, our mindset about money. And then the financial culture as well too, like how people would have discussed money management, because if you don't discuss money management in the home, it's going to be very difficult to actually have that form of communication, even especially yours come from an environment where communication was not really a big thing. It's going to be kind of difficult to actually relate to other people, relate to a future spouse you may have, or a significant partner you will have in the future.
Right.
Or even having that conversation with your children, but then also having to speak with your creditors should you come into a very ticklish situation.
Yeah.
So those things could hamper and affect the way you manage your money and you view things. And then I show you how that's translated into the, how you are right now, your present financial position. But then the other aspect of it would be is knowing your numbers. Is important, especially when you're trying to start this journey with budgeting, because budgeting is a lifetime practice. It's not something that you're going to get right off the bat. Okay, let me tell people that. It's something that you're going to have to be practicing for the rest of your life. But if you want to have an idea of how much money do I allocate towards groceries, how much money do I allocate towards gas, for example, you just need to track your spending. Like however often you're paid, if you're paid every 2 weeks, or if you're paid every month, or if you're paid weekly, you just keep track of your monthly spend or weekly spend or bi-weekly spend in order to know, where the money goes. And then you could create a budget based on actual information you have.
Okay, so that answers my next question as to why we should track our spending. So I'm going to roll into, is all debt bad?
So I made a personal decision not to have a credit card because I know myself. I know that if I see something and I want, I'm going to swipe. I'm going to spend somebody else's money.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I made that personal decision not to have one. But I do have a Visa debit card, which allows me to do the same. But the wonderful thing about it is that I don't have to pay interest on what I spend. The only way I'm spending money is if there's actually money on the account.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a form of control for me. However, I do have a business, and I would have acquired a vehicle through the business. So I do use that vehicle to travel to clients or to have meetings and so on. So I purchase an asset that makes money for me. Now, why that might become a little ticklish is that what we learned is that no more than 35% of your income should be tied up in debt. All right. So that would be the percentage of income that's tied up in debt. So the different things like the consumer loans, those tend to eat up your cash flow. And when I say consumer loans, I'm talking about hire purchase. I'm talking about credit cards. I'm talking about lines of credit. I've been there. When I got a salary increase, guess what? I opted to have a line of credit rather than putting that increase into something else. Okay. But the thing is that the reason why they recommend that percentage is because you want to have money available to accomplish other financial goals. Retirement is something that we need to really focus on. investing, have actually accumulating wealth, retaining money. Those are the sort of things that you want to have for you along your financial journey. So I would say, you know, it depends on the user, and there are different things you can do to curb that. If you're looking to get a credit card, don't let them set the limit for you. You set a limit, like $1,000. You just say, you know what, I only want a credit card with $1,000 on it, and therefore that doesn't put you deeper in the hole. So it's different things that you need to do, you could do, but it's all about managing it well, because if you happen to rack up $800 in consumer credit, in particular with a credit card, you could decide, you know what, I'm going to pay that bill off one time, because if you pay the minimum amount due, they're not going to put the full amount. They're going to take the interest off and put the remainder on. Okay. So that's, once you have an idea of how debt works, then you could manage it well.
A little bit better. Okay. Do you think there's a gendered approach to a difference to finance and wealth management?
Yeah, that's so interesting. Well, more of my clients are women, believe it or not. And I think that they are more willing to come forward to help. I know men do seek advice as well too, but they may feel more comfortable speaking amongst themselves. And I think the reason why women come to me is because I'm a woman.
Right. Yeah.
I'm a woman.
You might be able to relate with them a lot more.
Right. Correct. But actually, I've been reading up on this in terms of financial management for women. And I've learned that women are more comfortable sitting amongst themselves and discussing these environments, discussing money in nurturing environments, you know, in groups or via social media channels. They are interested in investing, but then there's the discussion where, you know, men are paid more than women, so they may not have access to resources, or to have those resources based on what they're paid. And I think that this is going to be an ongoing discussion. I've also read in some countries in particular, women are not afforded the opportunity to have a living to earn. They are set into arranged marriages, or they marry from young, and they're required to stay at home and not work. Right. They're not given the opportunity to achieve a level of financial freedom for themselves. And in particular, there are some women who are disadvantaged because they would not have had the education while growing up. So therefore, if they don't have the education, they're not able to earn a living like they deserve. I've also read that men are more willing to take risks more than women are, but you know, women are balancing households at the same time, so they can't afford to take the risk. They're taking care of their children more in some instances. Mind you, there are men who take care of their children, don't get me wrong, but there are some women who have to assume that full responsibility. So that's just the reality.
Right. Okay, so what are some considerations women should think about as it pertains to financial planning?
Right. So women go through what I call our financial seasons. All right. Okay. And you could go from being single to being married to being separated to being divorced in some instances, or if you remain married, end up being a mother, and then unfortunately you might end up being widowed. So women go through these varying financial seasons, and this is the reason why financial planning is key, because what financial planning does is that it prepares you for life's different stages. A financial plan should not be static, it should be dynamic. So, you know, you may start out by yourself, but then you end up with someone. So when you're by yourself, you're thinking about your financial goals, your future, where it is that you want to go, and then you end up with a partner now. Then you have to think about each other's goals and the timings at which things could occur, home ownership, or going into business together, or owning a car. And then when you end up with children now, then you have to think about financial security for your children, thinking about college, thinking about, you know, what should happen to them if you should pass away. That's where estate planning comes in. Okay. So these are the different things you have to think about. Okay. So there are various aspects of a financial plan. There's the asset planning where you're considering what would I like to acquire. Is it that I want a home, or is it that I want a block of apartments to rent out? Is it that I want a vehicle, or is it that I want to rent vehicles out? Is it that I want a business? Is it, you know, those are the different things you could think about. Debt management. Am I presently in debt? What am I going to do to get out of debt? Am I going to consolidate my debt? Do I need debt in order to acquire the assets that I'm looking to purchase? Savings plans. What is it that I need to save towards? Should I save for emergencies? Should I save for unemployment? Should I save for a deposit towards the home? All those different things. And investment planning, like investing over the long term. Like, what are the different options that I have out there? There are mutual funds. Should I get those? Their stocks. Should I get those? Their bonds. Should I get those? Insurance planning, coverage for your property. Should anything happen to you? Life insurance. Should something happen to you, how is your family going to be covered? Should they lose that income? Then there's retirement planning. What age do I want to retire? What plans are there available? Do I end up, you know, contributing to the scheme at my workplace? Do I end up contributing to a scheme privately? And then there's estate planning. What should happen to my possessions at the time of my death? You know, who gets what? Who's taken care of? How are my children going to be fed? Who am I going to place my children in care to? So those are the different things that you should think about as you journey throughout your financial life.
So this is relevant to both men and women. And my question is what if there's someone who is just making minimum wage, and before the money is in their hands and their bank account is already spent, because you'll have these responsibilities and it seems impossible for you to save and generate that wealth for yourself? What would you say to someone like that?
Definitely. I empathize with these people that are in this position, and no one ever plans to put themselves in this position, okay? Of course, there are varying factors as to why. Being a single mother, the father may decide not to support.
Or maybe you chose to be a single mother.
Or you chose to be a single mother. That's true as well. That's fine. And what they could consider is to work on increasing their means. This doesn't mean that you're forsaking family time, but if it is, you could work on acquiring more income via a better job. But it may mean retooling yourself. It may mean investing in a course. I'm sure government has courses that are available that are affordable. So you could look into enrolling in one of those to develop your skills. I'm not talking about getting a degree. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about something that's affordable for you to accomplish, to do. So you could look into that. And then it could position you favorably for a better position. That's a way in which you can increase your means. But then also, I don't want people to feel that, you know, with the amount of money that they have, that they can't still practice these things. You work with what you have. If it is that you work for, and I'm not saying that this is realistic, but I'm just trying to make an example. If you work for $10 a week, guess what? You could put $1 a week towards your savings. You may not be able to save like $100 a month, or you may not be able to save $200 a month. But what you do is save, you know, tiny denomination, $1, $2, $5, those different things. But the point is just to practice the principle of what you have. That's the best answer I can give.
That's appreciated. I mean, it's a very complicated topic, and obviously it will be contextual to the person's environment. But that's the best you can give with, you know, just your knowledge and that basic question I gave. So I appreciate that. And so there's several types of health. So I have a question here. Financial health is defined as the dynamic relationship of one's financial and economic resources as they're applied to or impact the state of physical, mental, and social well-being. This therefore overlaps with other areas of health like physical, emotional, mental. When we think of the unique health and well-being consideration we as women must plan for, or maybe weren't able to be prepared to deal with, specifically as it pertains to reproductive health, what are some tips you'd like to share with our audience?
Sure, that's no problem. If I can be a bit transparent here.
Sure.
I've been diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome in 2016. I discovered that. I didn't know, but
Thank you
given
for
that,
sharing that, by the way. Thank you.
oh, my pleasure. Having discovered that, it took me for a loop, but it meant that I had to think about my health and the different considerations I had to take. Because I had to start taking, I think it was metformin at the time, and I had to, of course the medical bills are going to increase, let me be honest. Emergencies happen. So when the pain becomes unbearable, I remember there were a couple of times I had to go to a medical practice to get an IV. So that's something that I didn't plan for, but I believe I was able to meet that expense. So it meant that I had to do a whole life change. And I learned also that with that condition, it tends to have emotional effects on you. So I can become really down and so on. So really going and seeking a therapist at critical points in my life, that was key. So you really have to invest in your care. I had to invest in my care. I signed up for a gym last year, November. Yeah, because I have been working with other people also throughout the years, but I decided that I would do this for myself. And since I've been part of their program, my body has been feeling a whole lot better. So it's really, thank you. It's becoming more aware of where I was at and the different transitions that I needed to make and take and so on. So even with doing the exercise, taking better care of my body, what I eat, taking my supplements. Recently, I was feeling a little low on energy, and I'm like, what's going on here? So I spoke to Dr. Rashida Daisley, and there was a possibility that my iron might be a bit low. So I've been taking iron supplements, and it's better in me. The pain is easier to manage through the exercise and so on. But then also, figuring out that my body needed more supplements. So, it will cost you a little money in order to do so. When I said a little bit more, right?
A little bit more, I was like, it can range.
It depends on the individual and depends on the level of care, and it depends on what you've been diagnosed with. But I think healthcare is key, is critical, but then also there's health insurance. And if you work with a company and they allow you to contribute to a medical scheme, I say by all means, please do that. Seek that, or do it privately. It may cost you a little more when you do it privately, but then also at credit unions, they also do medical schemes as well. So it proves to be a little bit more affordable than you doing it privately because it's a group plan. So again, for me, it's just a matter of, it's a journey and just figuring out, what's going on with my body, what do I need to do, how do I best prepare and plan for the eventuality of it, when that time comes every month, right? So again, it's a matter of documenting where you're at and seeking qualified medical advice. So you can't thwart from it, you can't hide from it. It's worth the investment to get your body in great health so that you can accomplish, a standard of living that you're looking to achieve.
So I guess this also then kind of adds as a background to my next question as it pertains to the importance of women being able to take control of their finances, because we do have a set of unique health experiences as women that we go through. And then, you know, if you're diagnosed with a condition like PCOS, like yourself, or endometriosis, like myself, or uterine fibroids, which we know is a condition that, you know, is very predominant in Black communities, Black women. These are conditions that we should be aware of, so that if there's an eventuality of being diagnosed with these, we have maybe a financial plan for that eventuality, or, you know, just in general, because when you think about it, we menstruate, we have to buy those sanitary products, and, you know, at this point in time, there's still that tax that's on it, you know, that we have to kind of deal with. And, you know, if you go to different distributors, the pricing might be different, but it's still an expense that men generally don't have to necessarily deal with. And then, you know, that can also lead to things like period poverty, where people just can't afford to buy these sanitary products. So can you also like allude to other reasons why it would be important for women to control their finances?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. What you're doing is going to affect those that come behind you or after you, especially our girls, our daughters, our nieces. It's important to set that example. It's important to make sure that you use your money to place you in a healthy position. When I say taking care of your body, because women generally don't know how to nurture ourselves, but we're more concerned with nurturing other people. So it's really important to get a handle on that, and that there's nothing wrong with putting yourself first. And when you put yourself first, you're thinking about your overall well-being. You're thinking about your financial well-being. You're thinking about your emotional well-being. You're thinking about your well-being in your body overall. And there's nothing wrong with taking care of your finances first, because you may be in debt, you may owe people, you may not be working for enough income. So if you're not able to water others or pass down something to the next generation, you need to do it now. Break the cycle. Get help with your debt. Seek counsel as it relates to generating multiple streams. And I'm not saying call it generate 7 streams, okay? There are only 24 hours in a day. But you don't want to be...
I heard that you know, that's what you're supposed to do, generate 7 streams of income.
That's what they say. But that's real, okay? So, you know, having another source of income should the other one dry up is rather key. So you want to make sure that you water yourself and communicate when the way in which you manage your money and spend your money, and that you're concerned about taking care of yourself as a woman, taking care, you know, of everything. You just want to be well, okay? That's what I'm trying to say. So you communicate that example to your daughters, your nieces, and those coming after you, and they could see that as a model. And for me, I have been struggling like with thinking that, okay, should I really pursue this, considering my recent personal situation? Yeah, let's leave it at that. That, okay, can I do this on my own? Yes, I can. There's, you know, I can do it. So just because I'm a woman, it doesn't, you know, dampen my rights to actually have financial security. So I say financial security is for women also. Don't let your gender stop you from achieving that. So if I've made up in my mind that I'm going after it, so can you.
And along with that, there's something you said that I think needs to be repeated. You know, there's nothing wrong with putting yourself first. I think we have been socialized to think, you know, we're supposed to cater to everyone else, and then, you know, we and there's nothing wrong. We're caring by nature, but you can't water from an empty pot. So you need to make sure that you have like self-fulfilled, basically, in order that you can share that information, and not just with the other girls and women around you, but also so that could be an example for the men, and you'll see a better, overall outcome for everyone involved. I'm hoping. I am hoping. So I think you did mention estate planning. Is that the same thing as an emergency fund? Because that was my next question.
That's no problem. Estate planning is just a plan where you determine how your personal possessions are going to be distributed, who gets what, who inherits what you would have accumulated over the years. An emergency fund, however, is just a savings account that you determine you're going to set aside for life surprises. So when I say life surprises, the tire goes flat, the battery suddenly dies, you have to go to the doctor. Those are the different things that you put in that savings account. So, a way to build that is that, okay, you know what? Have knowledge of how much a battery costs. Have knowledge of how much a tire costs. Those different things. Then you will have an idea of how much you could set aside. You're not going to be able to set aside, let's say, if you realize, okay, I want to save $1,000 for emergencies, you're not going to be able to do that in one go, okay? Set aside $50, $20 towards that. Should anything happen, the money is there, because what it serves as a buffer, and it doesn't put an unnecessary strain on your budget that you would have already planned out. So that's what emergency funds are designed to do.
Okay, thank you for that differentiation there. So are there any more resources available that we could use that could be a framework for how we manage our personal finances?
Sure, if I can mention mine.
Sure, go ahead. Yours.
If you visit my Instagram page, Money Matters with Melinda, if you go to the link in the bio, I actually have a video which talks about how you can learn to budget your money, track your money. So I have a detailed video in there as well. My book, My Money and Me, which is available on Amazon. It takes a look at how your behavior affects the way you manage your money and your mindsets, and how you could turn things around. It's like a money journal, so there are lots of questions that I ask you. And even while I was writing the book, I was asking myself the same questions. So I was going through.
You're doing your own introspection.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I'm telling you. And even recently, when I'm going through it now again, I'm like, okay, well. So it's helping me. I'm sure it could help other people. So yeah, that's an option you could consider. They're various, and I'm not the only person that's in the finance field that's doing this, but on Instagram, you could search on Facebook, look for different financial literacy experts. So there, by all means, do your research, find out what's out there. But I'm also a great resource as well too. So
of course you are. That's what we have you on. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we have the outline of the resources. I will make that available, within our end card, and then also in our caption, so that people will be able to access that information should they choose to, reach out. But thank you so much, Melinda. I think our viewers will now have the information to be able to, I guess, define money management, understand the process of tracking their spending and tracking their expenses, recognizing the importance of, taking control of their own financial wealth and health. And also, again, they're aware of some of the resources available to them on island and digitally that can aid in their journey to improve their financial health and well-being. So thank you so much for your time and sharing your knowledge. I've learned a lot, for sure. So for more information, thank you, about Melinda and her business, Astrape Finance Inc. We'll provide contact information in the description. Thank you to all who've joined us, and we look forward to seeing you next week on the next BAEP Talks with. Have a lovely evening. Bye.